Come, let us explore whether mindfulness meditation alone could be effective in terms of enlightenment. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted... there we go. This lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. Is mindfulness meditation enough? The individual wrote, I've been meditating for 4 days. So yes, very new to all this. Bless this individual's heart. In my meditation, I close my eyes, sit or lay down comfortably, focusing on my breath. And whenever my brain starts to wander, I shift my focus back to breathing. If I do this at night, I just fall asleep. If I do this in the morning, it has a calming effect. I usually meditate for 5 to 10 minutes. Is this enough? I've been reading posts in this subreddit. I don't understand half of it because of the terms you experienced people use. I don't want to go deep into the matter. I just want to have a healthy life. So, is my form of meditation fine? To the individual who asked this question, well done you. I respect your enthusiasm, your ability to communicate your thoughts in a lucid and cogent manner, and I'm happy to help you out with this. So, my job is not to treat you the way a pack of piranhas would treat a capybara who has jumped into the wrong Amazonian tributary. My job is to answer your question in a way that can help you realize the benefits you desire as easily and as comfortably and as quickly as possible. So, if you lay down on your back to meditate, you will most likely fall asleep. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I meditate several times a day, and the way I meditate during the day is different than the way I meditate when I'm lying in bed for the purpose of falling asleep. So it depends what your purpose is. If your purpose is to conquer insomnia and get a good night's sleep, then lying on your back comfortably at night to meditate can help you fall asleep. And I don't want to poo-poo the importance of lifestyle therapies. Consistently getting a good night's sleep is crucial to both physical as well as mental health. That's great. If in addition to a good night's sleep, you desire the additional benefits of meditation, then you may want to limit yourself to either sitting meditation or brisk walking meditation to help you stay awake, not superstitiously, just so that you can maximize additional benefits. The benefits that we'll go into in just a few minutes. So let's look at focusing. We will come back to this in a minute, but focusing, well, let's just get straight into it. I'm going to begin with one of my favorite bits. If you've seen this before, sing along with me. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. So 90% of everything sucks, 90% of humans suck, 90% of meditation teachers suck. What could suckiness look like? Well, it looks like praising being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, as if these were boons, and being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, as if these were poisons. But wait, there's more. Those who are rigid and those who are controlling have a very specific way of teaching what they call mindfulness. So let's begin with a rather crude artist's rendering of the human brain. When people say focus on your breath, that is a synonym for concentration. When people say when your mind wanders, bring it back, so that is an act of being rigid and controlling. Well, what's wrong with that? Glad you asked. Those who are teachers who are controlling and rigid will implore their students to actively concentrate and actively analyze, or both. The only way to do this, neurologically speaking, is by relying on discrete neurological pathways such as those found in our medial prefrontal cortex and or our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Now, this prefrontal cortex is amazing. If you want to compare, contrast, sort, organize, calculate, edit, this is your boy. This is your jam. But like learning how to play the violin on a Stradivarius, it is high strung. It is vulnerable. And when we work our prefrontal cortex too hard or too long or both, it triggers our amygdala. This lumpy thing here that kind of looks like a pea is the seat of aggression and anxiety, and it will fuel our downward spiral of being rigid and controlling and fearful and superstitious and cruel and elitist. So I personally, from personal experience, I would not recommend anything that feeds that downward spiral. Fortunately, this is not the only portion, this little triangle, this little pizza slice, is not the only bit of our central nervous system. Let's look at a portion of the central nervous system that is optimized for true mindfulness and meditation, as well as explore some of its benefits. One moment, I must take a moment to play you a tune on my schnoz. So, the most efficient way for us to practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation. Doing so induces our cerebral cortex to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system, which is wired to help us to perceive in a very specific way, to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Perceive what, you might ask? To perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Or as we say in my neck of the woods, the whole schmear. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. Doing so induces our cerebral cortex to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system, which has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So, it's the use of these one-syllable words that help to ensure the cooperation and not the opposition of this cerebral cortex with either facet of our autonomic nervous system. Now, let's ask the important question, so what? What's the big Megillah? This. Practice this for as little as 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. And number one, this will pacify the aggression and anxiety of your amygdala. 2, it's going to stimulate this weird hunk of meat that kind of looks like the backwards letter C. The big kids call this the anterior cingulate gyrus. It functions as the seat it functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. And that is exactly why the late Tulku Thondup Rinpoche insisted that the highest love is not the product of concentration or analysis, au contraire. The highest love is the spontaneous and uncontrived fringe benefit of playing with mindfulness and meditation. Furthermore, persist with mindfulness and meditation, and you could find that your choices and your utterances and your deeds flow with the centered spontaneity of, flow with the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, not contrivance, not scattered spontaneity, but centered spontaneity. Do this, and you will be able to deal with life with great skill and wisdom and love and ease. But wait, there's more. Let us demystify enlightenment. What if enlightenment was nothing more than the mastery of the Eightfold Path, getting so good at it that you practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively? The seventh and eighth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path are mindfulness and meditation. This is wild. Practice mindfulness and meditation alone, and everything else could take care of itself. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. The same loving kindness we unleash through mindfulness and meditation. The sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is the effortless effort of joy's centered spontaneity, which is unleashed through our practice of mindfulness and meditation. But what about the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? What about the right view of impermanence? Surely that requires faith or intellectual gymnastics. No, it doesn't. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Sit in mindfulness and meditation, and even if you try not to, you can't help but notice change. You cannot help but notice change in what we see, and what we hear, and what we feel, and what we hate, and what we smell from moment to moment. Sit in mindfulness and meditation. You can't help but notice changes in what we emote, or intend, or think, or recall, or imagine from moment to moment, no less, day to day. Sit in mindfulness and meditation, and very soon it could feel like a change mix of grasping and absurdity. In the penultimate passage of the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha assured his followers that if they practiced his teachings, they could master the path. And we're talking full enlightenment here, folks. Master the path in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. Now, most of us were not raised in cultures where we're comfortable counting our creases or sitting on the floor. So for my students, I recommend a gradual approach. The first week, we could begin with 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. The second week, if we feel up to it, we can bump that up to 10 minutes. And after practicing every 12 hours, if you feel up to it, by the third week, you might want to bump that up to 15 minutes. I'm sure you sing a pattern. By the conclusion of the 16th week, you could be so comfortable with sitting cross-legged that you could attend my live streams, listen to me meander on and on, and then lead a guided meditation effortlessly. You can do this. Dumber, crueler people than you have done this. You can be the person that your dog already thinks you are. I suspect it could be great fun if together as a team we did a bit of chanting and a bit of meditation after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So this morning I thought it could be fun to play with the latest iteration of All Good Ones iconography and meditation, treating the All Good Ones not as entities real or imagined to be worshipped, but simply archetypes. The late Dilgo Kensei recommended making a love sandwich out of your meditation, beginning with love and ending with love, and that seems like a good idea. Let us begin with conventional mindset of enlightenment. Please chant with me. Whoops, we got a challenge here. Let me see if I can't fix this bad boy. Let's go over here and there we go. Okay. In our compassion may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of ever. Hating, craving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the three mental poisons. In our pragmatism may our liberation of all others be fueled by our reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the three wish-fulfilling jewels. May we free all through the three jewels, may we free all through the three jewels. May we free all through the three jewels, may we free all through the three jewels. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness: the circumstantial, the mental, the interpersonal, and the physical, into wisdom's figurative practice of the rainbow body. Also known as there we go, Maha Yogas. Rather than indulge our controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us upstep the rigidity that confuses metaphors or statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. How could all circumstances or lots be as impermanent or interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form? One moment, if you please. Okay, that's easier on the old eyeballs. So here's what we just did. We used melting, the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence. We used the verb absorb as a metaphor of interdependence. We're going to take all these words and squeeze them down into 6 syllables. Though we're going to divide between our inhalation and our exhalation. And please remember that this question is rhetorical. How could all bodies or forms be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech? How could all interpersonal speech be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind? How could all minds be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void? One moment. Whoops, what happened here? Well, that is problematic. So let's just remove this for a moment. Make this 22. And now reinsert it. Thusly. All right, let's try this bad boy again. Whoops, a little bit more editing. Got to add in those chanting marks. Let's undo that one. Okay, here we go. 5th time is a charm. How could all perceiving, emoting, intending, thinking, recalling, and imagining minds be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void? Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. Now let us practice the Mahayoga of iconography, the Anu Yoga of bliss, and the Ati Yoga of awareness and release. Let us begin with Mahayoga's iconography of mindfulness. The nudity of the all good ones remind us that with inhalations we are wired to mindfully notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Now it's time for Anu Yoga's lower abdomen, bliss and release. Amoga Siddhi Karma Mudras Windala Mented Ashrikud will Sita is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger gently upon the tip of our left. So, using the technique, allow me to remind you of the technique we discussed in the opening lesson. The most efficient form of meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable FREEBIES during our exhalation. And the most efficient form of mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, thus facilitating perception that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. While silently and mentally reciting this during our inhalation, we can also count 12 repetitions upon the fingers and thumb of our right hand, advancing the thumb upon each crease of each finger, beginning with the little finger, as silently and mentally we recite this. Now that we know how to count 12 repetitions, how are we going to count the sets? We do that on our left hand. Again, beginning with our little finger. First set of 12 repetitions, second set of 12 repetitions, third set of 12 repetitions, and so on. We now turn to Mahayoga's iconography of meditation. The translucence of the All Good Ones reminds us that as we meditatively ease into our exhalation, all that we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less solid, less permanent, and less defining. Now it's time for Anuyoga's navel bliss and release. Rana Sambhava Karma Mudras Earth Element at our navel will Sintram. Is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger gently upon the tip of our left. Now it's time for Ati Yoga's awareness and release. Now it's time for Mahayoga's love iconography. The beauty of the all good ones reminds us of the highest love, which is the spontaneous, uncontrived, and effortless product of training in mindfulness and meditation. And now it's time for Ana Yoga's heart bliss and release. Akshobhya karma mudra's water element at our heart will seed, whom is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger gently upon the tip of our left. Oh wow, look at that. And now it's time for Ati Yoga's awareness and release. I'll be right back. Stuff's in the trunk? Okay. What I'm going to do now is take 5. Whoops, wrong. right, thank you for your patience. Let's continue with Mahayoga's flow state iconography. The stability with which he sits and the abandon with which he sports remind us of the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity. Whoops, just realized something with the editing. Please bear with me. The stability with which he sits and the abandon with which he sports reminds us of the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity, the product of training in mindfulness and meditation. Now we come to Ana Yoga's crownless and release. Varajana karma mudra space elemented our crown wheel sedum is accessed by resting the base of our right index finger gently upon the tip of our left. Let us bring the 4 bases, let us seal the practice by bringing Mahayoga's 4 bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and release. The screen might go a little bizarro for a minute, please. And we're back. May all circumstances or lots be safe. May all, let's try this again. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the safe fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vati. So we're taking all these words and condensing them down into 6 syllables that we're going to divide between our inhalation and our exhalation. Now, it's not our job to visualize, and it's not our job to emote. It's simply our job to play with these words in harmony with our breath and let our subconscious do the heavy lifting. May all clear minds of all beings now be as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a clay one syllable seed or bija mantra. May all relationships or speech of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha speech symbolized by a mala mantra. Ooh, that looks like an interesting editing opportunity. Cowabunga. May all bodies or forms of all beings know and show the beautiful, Halcyon and Buddha statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Yadam archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9 or so hours, I would very much like to return, play today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.